Stop trying to fix your partner. It's not working because they aren't the problem. You are. And honestly, that's the best news you're going to hear all year. Here's why. Have you ever had one of those nights? It's late, the house is quiet, and you're lying in bed next to your partner. And for absolutely no reason. The way they're breathing is making you want to scream. You start a mental list. You think about how they never listen, or how they're too lazy, or how they just don't get it. You've convinced yourself that if they would just change these 3 things, your relationship would be perfect. You'd finally be happy. But I want to offer you a perspective that's probably going to sting a little. But it's the only thing that's actually going to save your sanity. Your partner is not the problem. They are the mirror. See, most of us go through life thinking our eyes are windows, that we're just looking out at the world and seeing people for who they really are. But the truth? Our eyes are actually projectors. We aren't looking at our partners, we're looking through a filter of our own unresolved junk. Today, we're going deep. We're going to look at why the things you hate about them are actually clues to your own soul. To understand this, we have to talk about a guy named Carl Jung. He was a legendary psychologist who had this concept called the shadow. Think of your personality like a house. When you were a kid, you learned really quickly which rooms were okay to live in and which ones weren't. If you were told to be the responsible one, you took your playfulness and your laziness and you shoved them into the basement. If you were told to be the nice girl or the strong man, you took your anger and your vulnerability and you locked them down there too. The problem is, you didn't actually get rid of those traits. You just stopped claiming them. And as Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So, how does the shadow get out? It uses your partner as a screen. This is what Jung called projection. It's a psychological defense mechanism. Your brain is essentially saying, I can't admit that I have these bad traits in my basement, so I'm going to find someone else and project those traits onto them so I can yell at them instead of looking at myself. Let's look at a common example. Let's say you hate how emotional or needy your partner is. It drives you crazy. Ask yourself, is it possible that you've buried your own emotional needs so deep because you were taught that emotions are weak? Now, when you see your partner actually expressing a need, it triggers a visceral, hot anger in you. You aren't mad at their neediness. You're mad at the fact that they are allowed to be something that you've forbidden yourself from being. Or take the classic lazy partner. If you're a high achiever who can't sit still for 5 minutes without feeling guilty, your partner's ability to just relax on the couch is going to feel like an attack. You'll call them lazy. You'll resent them. But the truth is, you're just jealous of their permission to rest, permission you won't give yourself. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The hate you feel? That's your shadow screaming for you to pay attention to your own basement. And here's the kicker. The part that really hurts. The very thing you're complaining about right now. It's probably the exact reason you fell in love with them in the beginning. Jung once said that loneliness doesn't come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that actually matter. But how can you communicate when you're constantly in attack mode? How do you lower the temperature when your partner does something that feels like a personal strike against your soul? To fix this, we need more than just psychology. We need a way to manage our reactions in the heat of the moment. We need a discipline that doesn't care about your feelings, it cares about your character. We need to learn how to be unshakable. We need the Stoics. If Carl Jung helped us find the why behind our anger, the Stoics are here to give us the how for surviving it. See, psychology is great for understanding your past. But when you're standing in the kitchen and your partner says that one thing that makes your blood boil, you don't need a therapy session. You need a shield. Stoicism, founded by guys like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, isn't about having no emotions. It's not about being a robot. It's about being the absolute boss of your own mind. It's about building an internal citadel so strong that no matter how your partner acts, your peace remains untouched. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of the greatest minds in history, said something that changed my life. People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. Think about that. If your partner is late for dinner, the lateness isn't what hurts you, it's a clock. It's just numbers on a screen. What hurts you is the story you tell yourself in the gap between them being late and you reacting. The reality. They are 15 minutes late. The story. They don't respect me. I'm not a priority. They're doing this on purpose because they know it annoys me. The hate lives in the story, not the reality. The Stoic discipline is the art of catching yourself in that gap. It's looking at the bag on the floor or the forgotten anniversary and saying, "This is an external event. My anger is an internal choice. I refuse to give away my power over a bag or a date." This leads us to the most famous tool in the Stoic shed, the dichotomy of control. In any relationship conflict, there are two categories. Category 1. Things you control. Your thoughts, your words, your reactions. Category 2. Everything else. Your partner's mood, their habits, their past, their growth. Most of us spend 90% of our energy trying to fix Category 2. We think if we yell loud enough or act cold enough, we can force them to be better. But to a Stoic, that's like getting mad at the rain for getting you wet. It's a waste of a life. When you hate your partner for being who they are, you're essentially demanding that the universe rearrange itself to suit your preferences. It's a form of arrogance. A Stoic says, "I cannot control that they are messy. I can control whether I become a victim of that messiness." There's a beautiful, tough concept called amor fati, the love of fate. It means you don't just tolerate the difficult parts of your partner, you embrace them as the exact friction you need to grow. Imagine your partner is the grindstone and you are the diamond. Every time they trigger you, every time they're difficult, they are actually giving you a gift. They are giving you a chance to practice patience, to practice boundaries, and to practice being unshakable. Without the friction, the diamond stays a dull rock. So, stop wishing for a better partner and start being a better you. Because once you realize that your peace of mind is your job and not theirs, the hate has nowhere to live. You stop being a judge and start being a student. But look, logic only goes so far. You can be the most disciplined Stoic in the world and still feel a void in your heart. Because while Stoicism teaches us how to tolerate each other, it doesn't quite teach us how to forgive each other. For that, we have to look higher. We have to talk about the divine. Now, we've talked about the psychology of your basement, and we've talked about the mental discipline of a Roman emperor. But if we're being honest, sometimes logic isn't enough. Sometimes you can know exactly why you're projecting, and you can try your hardest to be a Stoic, but the bitterness is still there. It's sitting in your chest like a stone. That's because relationship conflict isn't just a mental game. It's a spiritual one. When we resent our partners, we are usually sitting on a throne. We've appointed ourselves the judge, the jury, and the executioner of their flaws. We look down at them and think, "I would never do that," or "I'm the one trying and they aren't." But here's the truth. That throne is a lonely, heavy place to live. And as long as you're sitting on it, you can't actually love them. You can't love someone you're busy judging. This is where Jesus dropped a psychological bomb that predates Jung by 2,000 years. He asked, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own?" It's a funny image, right? A guy with a literal 2x4 sticking out of his face trying to do surgery on someone else's eye. But that is exactly what we do when we hate our partners. We are so obsessed with their speck, their messiness, their tone of voice, their lateness, that we completely ignore our own plank. And your plank is usually your pride. It's the pride that says you're better than them. It's the pride that says you deserve a perfect partner while you're still a work in progress. The divine perspective isn't about being pious, it's about radical humility. It's realizing that you are just as much of a disaster as they are, you just have different symptoms. Stoicism teaches us how to endure a partner. But the divine teaches us how to forgive them. There's this word we don't use enough, grace. Grace is giving someone something they haven't earned. It's looking at your partner, who is currently being annoying or selfish or short-tempered, and choosing to love them anyway. Not because they deserve it, but because you know what it feels like to be loved when you didn't deserve it either. When you stop playing God and step down from that throne of judgment, the weight lifts. You realize you don't have to fix them. You aren't their Holy Spirit. Your only job is to love them. And ironically, when you stop demanding they change so that you can feel better, when you start focusing on your own plank and offering them grace, that's usually the only time they actually feel safe enough to change. So, we've covered a lot. Your partner is a mirror. Your anger is a story. And your judgment is a distraction from your own growth. Now, what are you actually going to do about it tomorrow morning? Inspiration without action is just entertainment. So, I want to give you a roadmap for tomorrow morning. I call it the 24-hour shadow challenge, just one day. You can do anything for one day. Step 1. Tomorrow, the first time your partner triggers you, maybe they leave their socks on the floor, or they use that tone you hate, don't say a word. Not a snarky comment, not a sigh, nothing. Just observe the heat in your chest. Remind yourself, this is an external event. My peace is an internal choice. Step 2. Go into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and ask yourself the hard question. What part of my own basement is this person acting out right now? If you're mad at their mess, ask where you're too rigid. If you're mad at their silence, ask where you're afraid of your own thoughts. Find the link. Step 3. Before you say anything to them, take 30 seconds to think about your own plank. Think about your own flaws, your own pride, and how much grace you require every single day. Then, and only then, speak to them. Not as a judge, but as a fellow traveler. Your partner isn't here to make you happy. That's a job only you can do. Your partner is here to make you conscious. They are the sandpaper that wears down your ego so that the real you, the divine you, can finally emerge. Stop trying to change the person next to you. Start using the friction to change the person in the mirror. Because when you change the way you look at them, the person you're looking at eventually changes too. Thanks for going on this journey with me today. If this hit home, do me a favor. Don't just like the video. Put one thing you're going to try tomorrow in the comments. Let's hold each other accountable. I'll see you in the next one.